Ever wondered why, on the most ordinary day, in the middle of a familiar room, you suddenly break into a cold sweat? Everything around you, from the tilt of someone's head to a speck of dust in a sunbeam, feels eerily precise. You're absolutely certain this moment has already happened, down to the second, down to the gesture. The illusion is so vivid, it feels like you've just peeked behind the curtain of reality. Back in the day, people believed that in moments like these, memories from past lives were bleeding through, or some prophetic gift was kicking in. But the truth is way simpler, and that makes it a lot more unsettling. Your brain just glitched, like an old computer under too much strain. Right now, we're going to break down that system failure piece by piece. That weird, spine-tingling sense of familiarity with something you couldn't possibly know. Almost everyone's felt it. You walk into an unfamiliar museum hall in a foreign city, but inside everything screams, "I've been here before." You hear a phrase from someone you met 5 minutes ago, and you could swear you already knew how it would end. That's déjà vu. A word we throw around so casually, we've forgotten how strange, even creepy, its underside really is. We tend to shrug it off, blaming it on fatigue or coincidence. But if you think about it, in that moment, your consciousness literally splits in two. One part knows the situation is brand new, while the other stubbornly insists it's not. You get this bizarre sense of reality doubling. You're both a participant in the scene and a viewer who's already seen the movie. Back in 1896, French philosopher and psychologist Émile Boirac first used the term déjà vu in his book The Future of Psychic Sciences. Before that, humanity didn't have a single word for this strange mental quirk. Scholars and thinkers bounced between terms like promnesia or paramnesia. But more often than not, people didn't even bother looking for rational explanations. Why bother when you could blame it on mysticism or higher powers? For centuries, this phenomenon was seen as proof of a soul that transcends physical death. Great minds of the past seriously built theories around reincarnation. Pythagoras claimed he remembered his past lives, and Plato cooked up an entire philosophical system where learning about the world is just recalling what your immortal soul saw in the realm of ideas before being born. Déjà vu seemed like the perfect proof of that concept. A person walks into a dark cave, sees an unfamiliar pattern on the wall, gets startled by a split-second sense of recognition, and thinks, "My soul saw this 300 years ago." It gave you a cozy feeling of being chosen, a comforting illusion that our lives are part of some huge pre-written script, and déjà vu are just quick hints the prompter whispers from the darkness. We feel like movie characters who snuck a peek at the script and realized everything was already set. But science has no mercy on pretty fairy tales. Once researchers got their hands on brain scanning tools, the mystical fog lifted. It turns out déjà vu has nothing to do with reincarnation, prophetic dreams, or parallel universes. It doesn't need astral planes or divine intervention. It all happens inside your skull, in that dark, wet place where billions of neurons fire off electrical impulses. Modern neuroscience classifies déjà vu as a brief neurological glitch. It's a physiological error where your brain loses its sense of time for a split second and mistakenly tags brand new information as old and familiar. It's not a whisper from the universe or ancestral memory. It's a system bug in the code of our biological operating system. Our internal clock just misfires, confusing incoming files with archived documents. We tend to trust our memory like it's a flawless digital drive. We imagine our memories sit on neat shelves like files on a hard drive. Childhood here, yesterday's breakfast there, first kiss over there. But the truth is, memory is a dynamic, constantly rewritten structure, and it's incredibly fragile. Every time we recall something, we're not opening a read-only file, we're reconstructing that memory from thousands of scattered neural connections. And in that complex assembly process, it's shockingly easy to make a mistake. Our perception of reality isn't live broadcast, it's a delayed feed that the brain is frantically editing on the fly. And sometimes, that editor falls asleep at the console. But how exactly does this glitch happen? What makes the most complex biological mechanism on Earth confuse the present with the past? What if your sense of time is a fragile illusion held together by a thread, and right now, inside your head, two separate tracks are running, ready to collide at any moment? To understand how this mechanism works, we have to look under the hood of our perception. In normal mode, your brain is a hyper-efficient logistics center. It processes incoming reality along two parallel paths. Cognitive psychologists call this the dual processing theory. The first path is instant perception of the here and now. You see a coffee cup, hear a dog barking outside, feel a cold gust of wind. This raw, unprocessed data hits your awareness through your primary senses almost instantly. The second path runs in parallel, but slightly slower. It handles analysis, comparison, and matching the incoming info against your past experience. It asks, have we seen this before? In a normal state, these two tracks are synchronized down to the millisecond. Information gets encoded, hits the short-term memory buffer, and then, if the brain deems it important, gradually moves into long-term storage. It's like a worker in an office. First, they drop a new letter in the inbox tray on their desk, and at the end of the week, they file it in the archive cabinet in the basement. Logical, sequential, orderly. But what happens when you're exhausted, sleep-deprived, or stuck in chronic stress? Your biological computer's resources start running low. The speed of neural signals begins to drop, and a microscopic timing slip occurs in that finely tuned system. Trying to save energy or just overloaded, the brain makes a critical mistake. It sends incoming sensory data straight to long-term memory structures, bypassing the short-term processing buffer entirely. This process takes a tiny fraction of a second, too fast for us to consciously notice. But that microscopic shift completely rewires your perception of reality. After just 50 milliseconds, your conscious mind processes the same scene through the standard, slower, analytical pathway. Your brain, like a diligent system administrator, queries the memory database. Do we have any information about this cafe and that pedestrian outside the window? And to its own surprise, it finds an exact, identical copy of the present moment stored in the long-term archive. After all, it recorded it there just an instant ago. Since that recording lacks a short-term memory timestamp, the analytical center draws the only logical conclusion it can. We've seen this before. This is a memory from the distant past. A paradox emerges. You're living the moment in real time, but your own brain stubbornly reports that this event is intense déjà vu. You are literally confronting your own past, a past that was created just 50 milliseconds ago. This theory reveals just how fragile our perception of the now truly is. We don't live in real time. Everything we see, hear, and feel is a constructed simulation of reality, broadcast into our consciousness with a microscopic delay. And if that broadcast goes out of sync, our world breaks down. Realizing this fact is enough to make your head spin. Your sense of self, your confidence in your own sanity and control over your thoughts, all of it depends on a delicate balance of chemicals and electrical impulses. Let one group of neurons fire just slightly faster than another, and you plunge into an illusion that is impossible to distinguish from reality. You lose the ability to separate the present from the past. But how can we be sure that's actually what happens? After all, you can't just pop open a healthy person's skull and measure those millisecond delays during a random déjà vu episode. Or can you? What if scientists haven't just pinpointed the exact anatomical coordinates of this glitch, but have actually found a physical button in our head that can trigger this mystical illusion at any second, with the flip of a switch? The anatomical map of this glitch has long ceased to be a mystery to science. All threads lead deep into the temporal lobe of our brain. This region houses an entire network of structures responsible for dealing with the past. But in our story, 3 specific nodes play the key role. First is the hippocampus, your internal archivist, cartographer, and navigator. It pieces together scattered fragments of experience into unified memories and helps you orient yourself in space. The second node is the parahippocampal gyrus. It closely surrounds the hippocampus and is responsible for instantly recognizing scenes, contexts, and objects around you. And finally, the prime suspect, the perirhinal and entorhinal cortex. These areas work like customs control. Their sole job is to assess how novel or familiar what you're seeing actually is. They are the ones that generate the very feeling of familiarity. Scientists obtained evidence for this model in the most direct way possible, during neurosurgery on epilepsy patients. The brain doesn't feel pain, so such operations are often performed while the patient is fully conscious. Surgeons use direct electrical stimulation to precisely map the boundaries of affected areas and avoid damaging healthy tissue. When the researchers applied a weak electrical pulse to the perirenal cortex of one of the patients, something incredible happened. The man was lying on the operating table in a sterile box and suddenly opened his eyes wide and said excitedly, "Right now he has experienced a severe attack of déjà vu." The situation around him hadn't changed for a second. No new faces, no sounds. Just a microscopic discharge of current simulated a recognition signal. This experiment clearly showed that déjà vu is not the extraction of a real memory. It's a pure, isolated electrical illusion. A sense of familiarity that can be turned on artificially, like a light bulb in a room. But why does this trick work in normal life in perfectly healthy people without any electrodes in their heads? Anne Cleary, a professor of cognitive psychology at the University of Colorado, found the answer. She decided to recreate déjà vu in the laboratory using virtual reality and experimentally confirmed the theory of Gestalt dating. The essence of the experiment is elegant and simple. The subjects were shown virtual locations. For example, a quiet garden, a tree on the left, a wooden bench in the center, and a low hedge on the right. After a while, people were transported to a completely different place, visually different from the first one, say, to the museum's exhibition hall. Instead of a tree on the left, there was a tall Greek column. Instead of a bench in the center, there was a pedestal with an ancient vase. And instead of a hedge on the right, there was a glass showcase. Despite the fact that the textures, colors, and objects were completely new, the subjects massively reported a strong sense of déjà vu in the museum hall. At the same time, they could not consciously recall the virtual garden they had seen before. Their brains unconsciously recognized the hidden geometric matrix of space. The location of the objects, viewing angles, and proportions matched the pattern once seen. This discovery turns our idea of déjà vu upside down. When you experience this feeling in an unfamiliar cafe, most likely, you just unconsciously read its layout. Your brain remembers the skeleton of a place from your past, a scene from a movie, a level from a video game, or a room from your childhood. But since the details themselves have been erased, the brain cannot give you the original source. Instead, it simply triggers a recognition siren. Attention, we've seen this before. What we've come to believe is a mystical experience, a whisper of fate, or proof of life after death, turns out to be the result of ordinary geometry and inattention. Our brain simply matched the fuzzy template of space with an archive file and produced an error. This is an incredibly beautiful, yet sobering fact. Our deepest, almost sacred feelings are merely the result of the dry mathematics of neurons. But if déjà vu is just a harmless glitch in spatial geometry, or a consequence of simple fatigue for healthy individuals, why does it become a frightening harbinger of disaster for some? What happens when this tiny neural spasm transforms into a devastating electrical storm that paralyzes the mind? For most of us, déjà vu is a fleeting, amusing oddity. However, there is a category of individuals for whom this sensation becomes a terrifying harbinger of an impending neurological catastrophe. These individuals are patients with temporal lobe epilepsy. For them, déjà vu isn't some rare curiosity. It's a clinical symptom, the so-called aura. Think of it as an alarm signal, warning that an epileptic seizure is about to hit. During a focal seizure in the temporal lobe, the brain produces an abnormal, high-frequency electrical discharge. It's like a short circuit in a massive city power grid. This discharge literally paralyzes the brain's ability to tell the old from the new. Patients describe pre-seizure déjà vu as a piercing, suffocating sense that everything happening is absolutely identical to something they've already lived through. It's no longer mild surprise, it's paralyzing terror, as if they're trapped in a script they can't escape. This state lasts anywhere from a few seconds to minutes and often comes with nausea, panic, or auditory hallucinations. EEG studies of these patients have revealed a striking detail. During the déjà vu episode, activity in the hippocampus drops to nearly zero, while in the rhinal cortex it spikes abnormally high. The memory retrieval system shuts down, but the familiarity detector goes into overdrive. On a biochemical level, the main conductor of this process is dopamine. This neurotransmitter isn't just about pleasure, it also handles focus and how we judge the importance of information. A surge of dopamine in the temporal lobes dramatically lowers the activation threshold for neurons that create the feeling of familiarity. They start firing off randomly, with no real trigger. Back in 2001, the British Medical Journal published a unique clinical case. A healthy 39-year-old man, a doctor by profession, caught the flu and took a combination of two medications, amantadine and phenylpropanolamine. Both of these substances sharply increased dopamine concentration in brain tissue. Within 24 hours of taking the meds, the man fell into a waking nightmare. He started experiencing relentless, exhausting episodes of déjà vu. He couldn't read medical journals, watch the news on TV, or even have a simple conversation with his family. Every word he read, every frame on the screen felt like something he'd done before. His rational doctor mind knew it was impossible, but his chemically overloaded brain stubbornly insisted otherwise. The false sense of recognition only disappeared once the drugs were out of his system. This case proved you don't need brain trauma or tumors to break your perception of time. All it takes is a slight chemical shift, triggered by something as ordinary as cold medicine. If dopamine levels can influence how often these glitches happen, then a strange demographic paradox starts to make sense. You'd think an aging brain would glitch more often, but with déjà vu, it's the exact opposite. Déjà vu peaks between the ages of 15 and 25. During this period, our brain, especially the prefrontal cortex and its connections to the hippocampus, goes through the final, most delicate stage of anatomical maturation. Neuroplasticity is at its peak, but so is sensitivity to stress, sleep deprivation, and emotional roller coasters. After age 40, déjà vu frequency drops sharply, and elderly people experience it very rarely. An aging brain becomes less plastic, nerve signal speed slows down, and paradoxically, that reduces the chance of desynchronization between perception channels. It's interesting how even social factors play a role. Statistics show that people with higher education, higher income, and those who travel a lot or watch movies experience déjà vu significantly more often. The reason is simple. Their brains store a vast library of diverse visual and spatial patterns. The more details you've seen in life, the higher the chance that a new room or street matches some forgotten file in your head. All these facts make you wonder just how illusory our control over our own minds really is. We're balancing on a razor-thin chemical thread stretched over an abyss of chaos. But what happens when that brief glitch stops being a temporary hiccup and turns into your permanent reality? Let's step beyond the boundaries of normal experience and descend into the deepest rabbit hole of memory disorders. There's a condition called déjà vécu in medicine, French for already lived. This isn't just a fleeting flash of recognition that passes in seconds. It's a severe, chronic form of déjà vu, found in people with advanced dementia or sclerosis. Someone with déjà vécu doesn't just feel a slight sense of familiarity. They are absolutely, unshakably convinced that they have already lived through this day in every detail. This leads to frightening and tragic consequences. Such patients flatly refuse to watch the news on TV or read the morning paper. When urged, they snap back. Why would I watch that? I already saw that broadcast yesterday. It's all already happened. When loved ones try to explain that it's live, patients sincerely believe that the TV channels are conspiring to rerun old episodes. They refuse to go to the doctor because they already had an appointment yesterday and won't eat, insisting they just had the exact same meal. In this state, the brain completely loses the ability to verify the current time. The person becomes trapped in an endless, never-ending yesterday. For them, the future no longer exists, and the present has become an infinite replay of an old film reel. To truly grasp how thin the line of our normalcy is, we should look at the mirror image of this glitch, a phenomenon called jamais vu, meaning never seen. It's the direct opposite of déjà vu. With jamais vu, a familiar object, person, or even a word suddenly feels completely alien, new, and never seen before. Imagine walking into your own apartment, looking at your familiar furniture, and being hit by an icy feeling. I've never seen this in my life. Your mind knows it's your home, but your internal recognition sensor stays silent. This state is far more disorienting and frightening than déjà vu. Unlike déjà vu, jamais vu is something you can actually trigger right now, on the spot. The trick is cognitive satiation. Grab a pen and a piece of paper, Pick a simple, everyday word, say, door, and write it down 120 times as fast as you can. Something strange will happen. Around the 60-second mark, your brain temporarily breaks. The word door suddenly loses all meaning. It looks like a nonsense jumble of letters from some made-up language you've never seen. This happens because the specific neural micro-networks that link the visual symbol to its meaning get tired way too fast. The connection snaps, and the familiar turns foreign in an instant. Both of these phenomena, déjà vu and jamais vu, reveal a deep philosophical truth. The world we see, hear, and touch is not objective reality. Our perception of time and space is a fragile house of cards, held together only by the perfect synchronization of billions of neurons. Time doesn't just flow out there on its own. Time is an internal construct, a movie that our brain is constantly filming, editing, and playing back in real time, right inside our head. We're completely at the mercy of this invisible director. We trust our memory, our identity, our plans for tomorrow. But none of that exists except as long as the microscopic delay between perceiving the now and filing it away in the archive works without a hitch. Let that synchronization slip by a fraction of a second, and our universe collapses. The present bleeds into the past. People we love become strangers. Words we've used 1,000 times turn into nonsense. Maybe, as you were listening to these words, you felt a faint, strange sensation for a moment. A quiet whisper at the back of your mind, saying you've heard these thoughts before or seen this text. Now you know. It's not a sign from above or a glimpse of a past life. It's just your brain, a little tired from the stream of information, delaying a signal by a split second and saving these very words straight into long-term memory. And maybe, right now, it's doing it again.